What if your secret love for him ends your dream career tonight? Maximus stared at the question echoing in his mind as the Boeing 777 sliced through the thin air above Chicago at 35,000 feet. The cockpit lights cast soft shadows across his face, highlighting the sharp line of his jaw and the faint worry lines that had deepened over the past year. At 35, he was the youngest chief pilot at Horizon Airlines, a title earned through 12-hour shifts, flawless safety records, and the kind of quiet leadership that made crews trust him instantly. But right now, none of that mattered. His thoughts kept drifting back to the man waiting for him on the ground, the man whose name he had never spoken aloud at work. Leo had texted him an hour ago. "Safe landing, Captain. Dinner's ready. I love you." Simple words, yet they carried the weight of 5 years of stolen moments, late-night flights, and careful silences. Maximus smiled despite himself, remembering the day they met in a crowded Seattle coffee shop during his layover. Leo, a high school literature teacher with blonde hair that caught the light like wheat in summer, had spilled his latte across Maximus's uniform and apologized with a laugh that felt like home. They had talked for hours that afternoon about books, travel, and the fear of being seen. Now, as the plane began its descent, Maximus felt the familiar knot in his chest tighten. His father back in Texas still sent emails about settling down with a good woman. Never suspecting the truth, his colleagues joked about weekend dates without realizing Maximus spent those weekends in their small Lincoln Park apartment, cooking pasta while Leo graded essays. The aviation world was changing, sure, but coming out as a gay pilot still carried risks. Promotion reviews, passenger stares, the occasional whispered comment in the crew lounge. He had built his life on precision and control. Admitting he loved another man felt like handing over the yoke to turbulence. The wheels touched down smoothly at O'Hare. Maximus taxied to the gate, signed off the log, and stepped into the terminal where the usual bustle greeted him. His first officer, Ryan, clapped him on the shoulder. "Another perfect landing, Max." Drinks later, Maximus shook his head with a practiced smile. Family stuff. The lie tasted bitter, but it was safer than the truth. By the time he reached their apartment, the city lights twinkled outside the window like distant runway beacons. Leo opened the door before Maximus could knock, pulling him into a hug that smelled of garlic and fresh basil. "You look exhausted," Leo said softly, kissing his temple. They ate in comfortable silence at first, but Maximus could feel the question hovering. Leo finally set down his fork. "The awards are in 3 weeks. Are you going alone again?" Maximus's stomach dropped. The Horizon Honors Gala was the biggest night of the year, celebrating pilots who had gone above and beyond. He had been nominated for saving a flight from severe turbulence last winter, guiding 300 passengers through a storm that could have ended badly. Everyone expected him to attend, shake hands, pose for photos. Alone, the way he always had. Leo's eyes, usually warm, held a quiet hurt. "I'm not asking to be the center of attention. I just want to stand beside you once, as your husband. We got married in Massachusetts 2 years ago. It's legal. It's real." Maximus reached across the table, lacing their fingers together. "I know. But the industry, my dad, one wrong photo and everything I've worked for could shift." Leo nodded, but the sigh that followed said more than words. They went to bed that night wrapped around each other. Yet the distance felt wider than the ocean Maximus flew over every week. The next morning, Maximus left for another 4-day rotation while Leo headed to school. In the crew briefing room at the hub, the announcement flashed on the screen: Chief Pilot Maximus Rivera to receive the Distinguished Service Award. Applause rippled through the room. Ryan grinned. "Man, you're basically a legend now. Bring someone special, yeah?" Maximus laughed it off, but inside the question burned hotter. What if loving Leo openly really did cost him everything? He spent the next 10 days in the air, jumping between coasts, each landing bringing him closer to the gala date. In Denver, he called his father. The conversation was the usual script: football scores, weather, subtle hints about grandchildren. Maximus hung up feeling hollow. Back in Chicago, Leo greeted him with takeout and a new book he thought Maximus would like. They watched a documentary about pioneering aviators, and for a moment the future felt possible. Then Leo whispered, "I'll understand if you go alone. But I need you to know I'm tired of being your secret co-pilot." That sentence lodged in Maximus's chest like an unresolved checklist item. He lay awake long after Leo fell asleep, staring at the ceiling fan that spun like a propeller. The man he loved had never asked for the spotlight, only for honesty. Maximus had always believed his silence protected them both. Now he wondered if silence was slowly eroding the very thing it was meant to save. The days blurred into final preparations. Horizon's PR team sent him a tuxedo fitting schedule and a list of expected media questions. "Keep it professional," the email read. Maximus read between the lines. "Keep it straight." He closed the laptop and found Leo grading papers at the kitchen table. "We need to talk about the gala," Maximus said quietly. Leo looked up, hope flickering in his eyes. The conversation that followed stretched late into the night, full of fears, memories, and the fragile promise that maybe, just maybe, the sky was big enough for both of them. The following week brought the kind of storm Maximus usually navigated with calm precision, only this time it raged inside his family. His sister called from Texas, voice tight with worry. "Dad saw the nomination online. He's proud, Max, but he keeps asking if you're bringing a date. You know how he is." Maximus paced the apartment while Leo pretended to read on the couch. The truth pressed against his ribs like cabin pressure. He flew to Dallas the next day for a quick layover, renting a car and driving the familiar back roads to his childhood home. The ranch-style house still smelled of mesquite and engine oil. His father, a retired Air Force mechanic, greeted him with a firm handshake and a plate of barbecue. Over dinner, the questions started. "So, this big award. You got a girl who understands the crazy hours." Maximus swallowed hard. "Dad, there's something I need to tell you." The words hung suspended while his father's fork paused mid-air. "I'm gay. And I'm married. His name is Leo." Silence crashed down like a sudden downdraft. His father's face hardened the way it had when Maximus was 17 and came home with a black eye from defending a friend. "This some joke, son?" Maximus shook his head, voice steady even though his hands trembled under the table. "It's real. He makes me better at everything I do, including flying." The conversation spiraled into raised voices, old Bible verses, and the painful admission that his father had suspected but hoped it would pass. Maximus left that night with a hollow ache and a promise to himself. No more hiding from the people who mattered. Back in Chicago, Leo listened without interruption, then pulled him close. "That took courage. I'm proud of you." Their kiss that night carried new tenderness, the kind that comes after surviving a storm together. Yet the fallout arrived by text the next morning. His father needed time. Maximus stared at the message while preparing for another flight, the weight of generational expectations pressing heavier than any G-force. At the airline headquarters, the gala buzz grew louder. Colleagues slapped him on the back, asked about plus ones. Ryan, his usual co-pilot and closest friend at work, cornered him in the lounge. "You've been acting weird lately. Everything okay?" Maximus hesitated, then decided the small truths had to start somewhere. "I'm bringing someone important. My husband." Ryan's eyebrows shot up, but instead of judgment, he grinned. "About damn time you stopped flying solo, Captain." The relief felt like clearing turbulence. Still, not everyone reacted the same. In the operations center, a senior Captain Maximus had always respected muttered something about changing times and walked away. The comment stung like an unexpected crosswind. Maximus spent that evening on the balcony with Leo, watching Lake Michigan glitter under city lights. "Maybe I'm risking too much," he admitted. Leo rested his head on Maximus's shoulder. "Or maybe you're finally flying at the right altitude." The week before the gala brought more layers of conflict. Leo's school held parent-teacher night, and one parent recognized Maximus from a news clip about the award. Whispers followed Leo the next day at work. A student asked innocently if Mr. Rivera's husband was a real pilot. Leo came home quiet, the first crack in his usual optimism. "I don't regret us," he said. "But I hate that our love has to be defended." Maximus held him, promising the gala would be their turning point. Meanwhile, Horizon's Diversity Committee reached out unexpectedly. An email invited Maximus to a private briefing about inclusive representation. He attended with Leo's encouragement, sitting in a sleek conference room while executives discussed evolving company values. The meeting planted a seed of hope he hadn't dared nurture before. That night they rehearsed what they might say if asked. Leo practiced his calm smile. Maximus practiced not flinching. They danced slowly in the living room to an old jazz record, bodies moving in the easy rhythm they had perfected over years of practice. For the first time, Maximus felt the possibility that the sky might welcome them both. Yet doubt lingered like fog at the runway threshold. His father's silence continued. A tabloid reporter had somehow learned of the nomination and started digging. Maximus deleted the voicemail without listening, choosing instead to focus on the man beside him. Leo's hand in his felt like the most accurate instrument on the flight deck. Gala day arrived wrapped in crisp October sunlight. Maximus stood in front of the mirror adjusting his captain's dress uniform, the 4 stripes gleaming like promises. Leo emerged from the bedroom in a tailored midnight blue suit, looking every bit the partner Maximus had always known he deserved. "Ready?" Leo asked, voice soft but steady. Maximus took his hand. "With you? Always." The drive to the downtown hotel felt surreal. Paparazzi already lined the entrance, drawn by the star-studded guest list. Maximus parked and helped Leo out, their fingers brushing deliberately. Cameras flashed the moment they stepped onto the red carpet. A reporter called out, "Captain Rivera? Who's your guest tonight?" Maximus straightened, heart hammering like engine startup. "This is my husband, Leo." The words left his mouth and the world did not end. Instead, more flashes erupted, questions overlapping. Inside the ballroom, chandeliers sparkled above round tables draped in white linen. Colleagues stared, some smiling, others frozen mid-conversation. Ryan appeared instantly, shaking Leo's hand with genuine warmth. "Glad you could make it, Leo. Max has been flying with one wing down without you." The ice broke. Other pilots approached, offering congratulations that sounded sincere. Yet across the room Maximus spotted the senior captain from the lounge, lips pressed into a thin line. The evening program began with cocktails and networking. Maximus introduced Leo to everyone who asked, each repetition loosening the knot in his chest. Leo charmed the room with stories about teaching Shakespeare to teenagers who dreamed of becoming pilots. One executive's wife pulled Maximus aside. "You two are beautiful together. The company needs more of this." Then the misunderstanding hit. During a break, Maximus stepped away to take a call from his father. The conversation was short and tense. "I saw the pictures online. I'm not ready, son." Maximus hung up, throat tight, and returned to find Leo surrounded by a small group. One pilot's wife was asking pointed questions about how they made it work. Leo answered gracefully, but Maximus caught the flicker of exhaustion in his eyes. Later, in the hallway, Leo confessed, "I thought I was prepared, but the stairs still hurt." Maximus pulled him into a quiet alcove. "We're in this together. Whatever happens." The awards portion opened with a video montage of heroic flights. When Maximus's clip played, showing him steadying the controls during last winter's storm, the room erupted in applause. He walked to the stage, Leo's encouraging nod from the front table anchoring him. Accepting the heavy crystal trophy, Maximus spoke briefly about teamwork and safety, then added, "And to the person who keeps me grounded when the skies get rough, my husband Leo, thank you." The room quieted for a heartbeat, then broke into genuine cheers. Yet backstage, tension resurfaced. A board member approached, voice low. "Bold move, Captain. Some shareholders might not like the optics." Maximus met the man's eyes. "With respect, sir, The only optics that matter are the ones that show we value every member of our crew. The exchange left a chill, but Maximus refused to let it dim the night. Back at the table, Leo squeezed his hand under the linen. "You did it." Maximus leaned in. "We did it." The music started, and they danced once, slowly, under the soft lights, ignoring the glances. For those few minutes the world narrowed to just them, two men who had navigated years of hidden flight paths and finally found clear skies together. The morning after the gala, Maximus woke to his phone buzzing with notifications. News articles carried headlines like, "Horizon pilot makes history with husband at awards." Comments ranged from supportive to vicious. He scrolled past the hateful ones, focusing instead on messages from crew members he barely knew. "Proud of you, Captain." Leo brewed coffee, reading over his shoulder. "Looks like the storm passed." But the real turbulence was only beginning. Horizon's social media exploded with support, yet internal emails circulated about reputational risk. Maximus attended an emergency meeting with HR and the CEO, a silver-haired woman named Elena Vargas who had risen through the ranks herself. "We stand by our people," she said firmly. "Your bravery last night aligned with the values we're building." The words surprised him. Elena shared stories of her own daughter's coming-out journey, turning the meeting into something almost personal. Outside the office, however, old friends distanced themselves. One captain who had flown with Maximus for years sent a curt text, "Need time to process." The betrayal stung deeper than expected. Maximus sat in the crew lounge replaying conversations, wondering how many silent judgments he had missed. Leo noticed the shift that evening. "You're carrying the whole plane again," he said gently. They talked late, Leo reminding him that growth sometimes meant losing altitude before climbing higher. Family pressure mounted too. His sister called, caught between their father and Maximus. He watched the clips. He cried, "Max." Not angry tears. Proud ones, I think. But he doesn't know how to say it. Maximus promised to give their father space while holding on to hope. At Leo's school, the principal pulled him aside. Some parents raised concerns about appropriateness. Leo defended their relationship calmly, citing the district's inclusive policies. The principal ultimately backed him, but the conversation left Leo drained. That night they cooked together, turning the kitchen into a sanctuary where the outside noise could not reach. Maximus's next flight rotation felt different. Crews treated him with new respect mixed with curiosity. One young flight attendant approached during boarding. "My brother came out last year. Seeing you it helps." The moment crystallized why the risk had been worth it. Yet a deeper crisis brewed when an anonymous complaint reached corporate about disruptive personal choices. Maximus faced another closed-door session. This time Elena was direct. "We're investigating, but I want you to know the board is split. Your performance is impeccable. We're considering a public statement." The uncertainty felt like flying through clouds without instruments. Leo sensed the strain and suggested a weekend getaway to a cabin up north. They drove through autumn forests, leaves blazing like runway lights. By the fire that evening, Maximus finally voiced his deepest fear. "What if I lose everything I've built?" Leo took his face in both hands. "You haven't lost me. And the man I married is bigger than any title." Their kiss that night carried the weight of every unspoken mile they had flown together. Back in the city, Maximus received a surprising call from his father. "Son, I watched that speech again. You looked happy. I'm not saying I understand it all yet, but I'm trying." Tears blurred Maximus's vision as he thanked him. The conversation was short, but the door cracked open. The following Monday, Horizon Airlines issued an official statement. Elena read it at a press conference Maximus attended with Leo at his side. "We celebrate Captain Rivera's service and his authentic life. Diversity strengthens our crew and our skies." Cameras flashed. Support poured in from pilots' unions, LGBTQ organizations, and passengers who shared stories of feeling safer knowing the cockpit held someone who understood courage on every level. Maximus's inbox filled with invitations. speaking engagements, interviews, even a feature in an aviation magazine. He accepted a few, always with Leo beside him. Each appearance chipped away at the old fear until it felt like shedding heavy fuel for a lighter, truer flight. Yet not all reactions were positive. A small group of shareholders threatened to pull funding. Maximus received a late-night call from legal warning of potential backlash. He lay awake beside Leo, calculating risks the way he calculated fuel loads. In the quiet, Leo whispered, "Whatever happens, we land together." The turning point came during a company town hall. Maximus stood on stage with Elena, answering employee questions. A young mechanic raised his hand. "Captain, how did you find the strength to be yourself?" Maximus glanced at Leo in the front row. "I realized hiding was the real turbulence. Being honest gave me smoother air." The room erupted in applause that felt like tailwind. That evening they celebrated quietly at home with takeout and a movie. Maximus finally allowed himself to believe the support was real, not a fleeting headwind. His father even texted a photo of the statement printed out and taped to the fridge. Small steps, but forward. Leo's school celebrated too. Students made cards. Colleagues organized a small potluck. The principal publicly praised Leo's courage, turning the earlier concerns into a teachable moment about acceptance. Maximus's next flight felt lighter. He briefed the crew with new confidence, sharing a brief personal note about balance and support. The flight attendants smiled knowingly. Ryan, riding as passenger this time, clapped him on the back before takeoff. "You're still the best captain I know." As the plane climbed, Maximus glanced at the empty right seat in his mind, imagining Leo there. The thought made him smile at 35,000 feet. 6 months later, the Horizon Honors Ceremony had become a symbol. Maximus stood on the same stage, this time presenting an award to a new pilot who had shown exceptional teamwork. Leo sat in the front row, wearing the same midnight blue suit, now with a small rainbow pin on the lapel. Their eyes met across the lights, a silent conversation perfected over years. After the event, Elena pulled Maximus aside. "Your story helped us launch our new diversity initiative. Applications from LGBTQ pilots are up 30%. The numbers felt like clear skies ahead." Maximus thanked her, then found Leo waiting with 2 glasses of champagne. "To us," Leo toasted, "and to every mile we still have to fly." They danced again that night, slower, more certain. The misunderstandings, the family struggles, the professional risks had all led here. 2 men standing openly in the light they once feared. Maximus's father had even attended via video, waving from Texas with a tentative smile. In the quiet drive home, Maximus reflected on the journey. The boy who once hid his heart in the cockpit had learned that true altitude came from honesty. Leo had taught him that love was not a destination but the navigation system itself. Life settled into a new rhythm. Shared flights when schedules aligned, quiet evenings grading papers and reviewing logs, weekends exploring cities neither had truly seen before because they had been too busy hiding. The world had not ended. It had expanded. One crisp morning, standing on their balcony watching the sun rise over Lake Michigan, Maximus turned to Leo. "Thank you for refusing to stay in the shadows with me." Leo smiled, the same smile that had spilled latte and started everything. "Thank you for finally letting us fly in daylight." The city stirred below, planes taking off in steady streams. Maximus felt the familiar pull of the sky, but now he carried no secrets, only the steady compass of the man beside him. In the end, this story reminds us that courage isn't the absence of fear but the decision to move forward anyway. Maximus and Leo's journey shows that hiding who we love may feel safe in the short term, but truth always creates smoother, longer flights. If you're carrying a secret that weighs you down, consider this. The people worth keeping will adjust their course to fly beside you. The real lesson is simple. Love openly, live honestly, and trust that the sky is wide enough for everyone. Your authentic self isn't a risk. It's the clearest heading home.